Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Good Morning Brownsville. It is Tuesday, September 30th, 9:19 a.m. My name's Frankie. This is Roman. Good morning, Roman. How's your day going?
Good morning. Woke up with allergies, bro. Woke up with allergies. Somebody's doing brujeria on me or something. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. Can you hear me? Do I sound okay?
You sound horrible, but
Oh,
that's every day.
uh,
Welcome to the club, Roman. Welcome to the club where people do brujeria on you. Welcome to the club where people are constantly hating on you, Roman. Welcome.
yeah. Well, Frankie, I'm older than you, and I'm not newer to the game than you are, buddy. I've been doing this for way too long. I mean, you're getting comments from people in Hidalgo County commenting on your stuff that you're posting, and I can't help but laugh that Hidalgo County people are calling you a newbie and they don't even know the rules of the Texas election code. Wow, amazing.
Uh, Again, that's what you call having to hold people by the hand. How they stated to me, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday was a very very interesting day. It was a busy day on my end. My phone, Roman, was blowing up. Yesterday, we spoke about very serious allegations that has transpired as of late. Allegations of board members, quote unquote, taking money under the table, board members taking part of the selection process of providing information to certain vendors. What's your take, Roman, on yesterday's response from the community?
I'm a little disappointed in the members of the community thinking that Carlos Elizondo is somehow a hero in all this. And the comments that have been on your page have been kind of funny because I don't think they understand the context of what he was doing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the perception of the agenda item itself. People don't seem to understand that the girls were not trying to hide anything. All they were trying to do is make sure that the item on the agenda is what's being discussed, and also to protect the district. At least that's what it seemed like the attorney, and I'm not one of those people that likes to defend attorneys, but I think the attorney was trying to make sure that they were not out of the scope and in potential violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act by discussing things that were not germane to the idea. And I think also people didn't understand what actually happened and why the motion that Carlos was doing was improper. And people just like to think from their gut, and they I think they just assume, oh, Carlos has all this information, has all the goods, way to go, Carlos. And the girls are mean, and they come from that perception. So I think maybe we have to really do a better, I guess, our job is to do a better job of explaining what was happening in that meeting, and not just a small little clip where he's saying, I have audio of people taking money under the table. I'm saying this because I rewatched it, and then I saw the comments, and I said to myself, what are they missing? And so I put myself in their shoes, and I think that's what they're missing. I think they really think that the girls are hiding something, and they're not.
For today's program, we wanted to dive a little bit deeper into what happened this past Friday in a special called board meeting. The reception that I got from the community was, I hate to say this, Roman, but they expected this. They said, "Oh, that's news to you." As if, again, the Rio Grande Valley has been smeared with allegations of corruption, and it's unfortunate whenever people think of those in leadership positions, they automatically think, oh, they're on the take, they're on the take. um, what happened is very unfortunate, because what we are starting to see, in my opinion, is the decline of BISD. Now we have seen already a decline in enrollment, but now I think these people are desperate. These individuals, they want to hold on to power. They're asking the community for $1 billion of a bailout. The community, from what I've heard, they're not receptive to that information. I honestly think that this is going to be the beginning of something very, very dark, of what lies ahead for the school district. And the reason why I say that is because there's no faith in the district. While our slogan seems to read, believe in BISD, I would dare say if you talk to 10 people, over half of them would say, I don't believe in BISD. They're all corrupt. One famous phrase that I heard yesterday was "se tapan con la misma cobija." They're all one of the same. They all protect themselves. And yesterday's revelations by board member Carlos Elizondo that he has an audio is very troubling. But again, for those that aren't aware, this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time that Carlos Elizondo has been in this sort of, what do we call it, dilemma. Previously, when he was a fire chief for the city of Brownsville, we learned how he secretly recorded a city commissioner. Now, he was saying that he was doing it to protect himself, but when it all comes down to it, he was reprimanded, he was placed on leave, in large part because of that. So it's very troubling, Roman. It's very troubling for this information to be out in the open. And there's no question. There's no question that the FBI is looking into the district. That is something that Erasmo Castro and myself had spoken about in detail. He did state that the FBI did speak to a board member, that either they picked up a board member, they spoke with a board member, that somebody went to the FBI. And today we want to talk about that very issue. We want to throw out hypotheticals on who, because we know that the feds are watching. That's no question. But we want to talk about and zero in on who we feel as if the feds are zeroing in. Roman, what was your thoughts in regards to this this serious allegation that Carlos Elizondo made? Do you think it's a bluff, or do you really think he has the goods?
I think 90% of me thinks it's a bluff, just because you have where wouldn't he be throwing the vendors under the bus? The very vendors that would have probably been on these tapes, and maybe the vendors are his friends. I don't know. I don't think that he would throw them under the bus. But then again, he had no problems throwing Cesar de Leon under the bus, and he was supportive of him.
So interesting take, Roman, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to play the audio very quickly. I just want to play the first 20 seconds just so the community could, so we could run full circle in regards to this. I'll stop it after Mr. Carlos Elizondo speaks to an open forum.
Is there audio? Frankie, the audio is not working.
You can't hear it?
No.
I have to get off. Okay. Let me try it one more time. My bad. Damn technology. If it's not one thing, it's the other, Chingo.
Sorry. I apologize to everybody, but my allergies are going crazy, and I had to move over to get something to.
Can you hear it?
Yes, Mr. Yes. Please ask your question.
It's not my
Yes.
question, it's my motion. And I'm asking for a second to table it until we get further information. I do have information. If you want me to play it on audio, I will do so. Where there's some people here taking on the table. You want me to play that?
So again, Carlos Elizondo stated in open forum that he has an audio of either a recording of people being caught with the hand in the cookie jar. And Roman brought this up. This isn't the first time that Carlos Elizondo has recorded a elected official. We learned back almost a decade ago that he recorded Cesar de Leon for over 4 hours. And through those recordings, Cesar de Leon, his political career was pretty much over. I honestly think, Roman, that this is a bluff, in my opinion, because you made a very interesting point before we play that audio. You stated, Roman, that who did this recording? If he has audio, he's either throwing someone under the bus. Again, it's not far-fetched that Carlos Elizondo, he himself, recorded a fellow board member, recorded a fellow administrator. It's not far-fetched because, again, we have in front of you confirmation that he was the one that recorded Cesar de Leon back in 2017. So there's two things that we have to talk about, Roman. Let's say, hypothetically, he does have this recording. Let's say two of things must have happened. One, Roman, he himself recorded that board member talking illegalities, maybe talking freely about a certain vendor, possibly. That's one. The other possibility, Roman, that you brought up, and I think it's very intriguing, is the vendors. Because we will play an audio shortly where there's allegations that the board members are being cornered, are being sought after. Because again, community, we have very important issues that are coming up. One is the bond of $1 billion, where you, the voter, will have an opportunity to vote on November the 4th. We're actually, what, Roman, 3 weeks away from early voting in regards to that issue?
Thereabouts, yeah, thereabouts.
That's one, Robin. That's very one big important issue. So the board members are being cornered, are being pressed, are being wined and dined, so to speak, for the bond. But not only that, according to a board member, each board member or a majority of the board is being wined and dined for this insurance contract. As we all know, insurance is the honeypot. This is where I don't want to say the majority, but I would dare say anywhere from $8 to $12 million is paid out. So this is a free-for-all right now. So in my opinion, Roman, two of things happen, and I wanted to get your take on it. Either one, again, let's hypothetically say and agree that Carlos has an audio, hypothetically. Either he did the recording of a fellow board member, or two, he's throwing a vendor under the bus and saying there's a recording from a vendor, that the vendor recorded the board member. What's your take on that?
I have a feeling that it's the second thing, that somebody, if this is real, again, I don't, right now 90% of me says nah, it's not real, he's just bluffing, it's not, he doesn't have this recording, because he wouldn't have been dumb enough to say it. There was like no real reason for him to say it. I don't know, I don't even know why he was thinking of saying it, but if he did have it, I would say it's the aforementioned, that it's him, maybe with a vendor and maybe with another board member. I don't think it was a board member talking about it or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised about that. Now, I didn't even thought about that part, Frankie. I hadn't even thought that it could be him with talking to another board member.
Again, the possibilities are there, and it's not far-fetched, Roman, to think that. So what does the community think? Because the comments that I've been hearing, reading yesterday were very telling, Roman. Many people were stating, well, if you have the goods, why don't you just release it? They were saying, Pedro que ladra, a dog that barks, possibly, more than likely, isn't going to bite. Now, that's a fair assessment. There was also one that says, if one has the goods, one doesn't threaten. They just do it. So is he trying to scare someone? Is he trying to say, hey, you better align. You better align with me. If not, I'm gonna oust you. Is that a possibility? Maybe. But again, an individual that has this very sensitive information, Roman, in my opinion, they should go straight to the FBI. Why is he dangling this in front of the community? Carlos Elizondo wanted this to come out. He wanted us to talk about it. He wanted this to be the topic of discussion. Could this be possibly a way for him to say, I'm against the bond, let me just throw more dirt out there? What he doesn't realize is that the feds are watching. TEA is listening to everything that is going on. It does not look in the district's best interest to have a dysfunctional board. They waited again to the 11th hour to elect the Golden Girl, only for dysfunction to continue. So it wouldn't be far-fetched if TEA and the FBI and the three-letter agency, they're watching and they're monitoring. And if things like this are being said, best believe that they're looking at the district under a microscope.
It's scary, honestly. I mean, the people that think that, this shouldn't surprise us. It shouldn't surprise the fact that we have, people supposedly on the take. It shouldn't surprise you, but at the same time, it should surprise you that he openly said it up there. And some of these people only saw that clip. I think you have like 40,000 shares on or not views on that one video. You don't have as many views on the live. They don't even know what was also said by another board member. I mean, we can probably, if you have that audio, if you're going to play that audio later, I mean, it's very damning, very, very damning.
Yes, let me go ahead and play it. Let me see if the audio is working. I'm having trouble with my headset, but let me see if I could put it on. Where is it?
And maybe raise the volume if you're able to, because earlier it was very difficult to hear.
That we offer you the best plan for yourself and for your family, because it's not fair for the taxpayers to put in $2.5 million on the taxpayers because we didn't plan ahead.
I have Ms. Grantland
This is the reason why.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to remind my colleagues that there are Robert's Rules of Order to be followed. And the way this transpired, unfortunately, was that we got into the presentation, but there was a quick motion made, but everything happened so quickly that you did not recognize him. I agree to that. But we all need to remember there's some decorum we need to follow. And yes, we are all passionate about this. And I, too, agree that we need to find the very best for our employees. But I would like to ask all of our colleagues to please maintain the decorum.
Ms. Garza.
Yes, and Dr. Cantu, yes, there is a process. We're currently in the middle of a contract. So that was never offered to our employees because we did not go out looking for qualifications because we aren't currently in the middle of a contract. So due to the contract that we did approve back in 2023 for it to begin January of 2024, we're going based on what we went out for back in that time. So that is why our employees were never offered that, because we are currently in the middle of that contract. Now, we do know that there is insurance companies out there who has been out looking out for every board member and trying to offer deals and everything. And so I just want to know, the community to know that, yes, there's some people who are pushing certain insurance companies to our employees, which I'm going to tell you, I am a member to one of those outside companies, and I don't think, even as a member, that I think it is best for our district. And so thank you to our insurance committee, because you guys have done this process since 2023. We know what transpired also in 2023. There was board members who also had information, part of that CSP, that was not privileged information to us, which also I think would have violated that process. And so again, thank you guys, because you all use this insurance and you guys look out for you all, and you all look out for the rest of the employees of our district. And I want to tell you that this is a very good offer, because I currently have insurance with the city and we don't have a $750 deductible. I did not get a $2.25 increase. I got more than that. I'm paying at the end of the year over $1,000 more because I need that insurance. So thank you all again for taking the time. You guys do this so passionately. I know you all have been doing it for some years. So thank you. And I just want to say that as a former BISD employee, I wish I had this insurance coverage.
Frankie, is she? I don't know why I didn't pick up on this yesterday, but it sounds to me that she is alluding to the possibility that whoever is doing the insurance at the city is somehow trying to go into the district. Is that what she's saying? That one of the vendors is potentially the vendor at the city? Is that what she's doing?
That's what I understood. That one board member is pushing one vendor, one insurance vendor over the other. The insurance carrier that recently was awarded the services is Frontier, if I'm not mistaken, with the city of Brownsville. When Erasmo Castro was alive, I know he was being wined and dined. He was being courted by Frontier. They desperately wanted in to the school district. And I believe these are people from Harlingen, if I'm not mistaken. I did hear about them while Erasmo Castro was here, and he wasn't too impressed. And one thing, Roman, that is interesting about this is that we have previously spoken about this. We get criticized a lot here at Good Morning Brownsville for, misinformation, so to speak. But there was a play, and look, ladies and gentlemen, everything always comes full circle. Yesterday, Denise Garza stated that there was a certain insurance carrier that was being pushed on others. Right. This, again, give me time, Reggie. Give me time. I'll come full circle on this. Give me time. What Denise Garza was talking about, Reggie, was back in 2023. Back in 2023, that there was some sort of tampering, that a board member was giving certain information to an insurance carrier. In 2024, Frontier was in play. Right now, Reggie, Frontier is out of the equation. Now, there's a new vendor, a new insurance carrier that is vying for that lucrative contract. But I want to bring it back, because this is something that I was given, information that I was given. And they said, hey, kid, we have this information. Create a graph. If you create the graph to our specifications, we'll give you a story. And this is a story that I got. That's the city commissioners were working with the school board, in particular, Carlos Elizondo, to get a job, for Carlos Elizondo to get a job back with the city. He has a year, possibly two, to receive his retirement money. And behind this all was Gustavo de Leon and Pedrito Cárdenas. Pedrito Cárdenas was the one who got Frontier into the city of Brownsville. The play, Reggie, at one time was for Frontier, through Carlos Elizondo, to get in the school district. And the play was, we get the city, we get the school, next we get the county. That's the way they were operating. You're absolutely right, Reggie. Now, Frontier is not in play. Why? Something happened. We don't know. So this was a graph this was information that I was given back in April, May. And they said, run with it, kid. It's solid lead. It's a solid lead. And lo and behold, 4 or 5 months after, Roman, we are starting to see this come into full circle. Now, Roman, there's two factions on this school board. We all know that. There are allegations that a certain board member was giving information. Do you think, Roman, that Denise Garza was saying that her own faction was giving information to vendors?
No.
Is it fair to, again, we're assuming here, hypothetically, Roman, is it fair to assume that Denise Garza was alleging that someone from the other faction was playing footsies with a vendor? Is that fair to say?
I that's what I'm perceiving, yes, based on what
Okay,
she's saying.
now, again, let's play hypothetical, Roman. Out of the board members, we have one faction that we spoke about. Now we have the other. Who's the leader, Roman, of the other faction? Who controls everyone?
Carlos
Elizondo. So it's not far-fetched for us to make the assumption that Denise Garza, Reggie, was stating that back in 2023, Carlos Elizondo gave sensitive information to a vendor. What vendor? Could it be Frontier? Possibly. Could it be that they were given information? A CSP is a what? Competitive sealed proposal, if I'm not mistaken, where questions are not everyone is privy to this question. Not everyone is privy, Roman, to this information. So, Reggie, Denise Garza was making allegations that 2 years ago in 23, that a board member, who I would dare state that it was Carlos Elizondo, was giving sensitive information to a certain vendor. Who's that vendor? I can't say definitively, but one could assume that it was Frontier. Why? Because Frontier, through Pedrito Cardenas, was making a play at the city. If I'm not mistaken, they are current vendors to providing insurance. I could be wrong, but that is my understanding. Pedrito Cardenas is friends with Carlos Elizondo. We all know how Carlos Elizondo vouched for Pedrito Cardenas. Pedrito Cardenas was trying to get Frontier into the school district. So hypothetically, it's not far-fetched for us to make the assumption, and I know it's not good for us to assume, Roman, because we make a butt out of you and I, but Denise Garza makes a very, very interesting point. It's not far-fetched that Carlos Elizondo was giving information that he wasn't supposed to be giving out. Roman, is that what you understood, or am I reading this wrong?
I mean, there's a lot of packed into that, but yeah, that completely makes sense because as Reggie was saying, that's not the vendor. Is not the vendor that's being pushed right now. So Reggie might be onto something that there's another vendor because that's now in the picture, and somehow or another, whatever vendor that he had been pushing is out. Let's say it is somebody at the city. Maybe it is a vendor at the city. Why is Carlos not interested in that vendor anymore? And look, I don't believe that Frankie, you or I or anyone besmirching these vendors. I mean, you are allowed to have meetings with people. I mean, the vendors are not doing necessarily anything wrong. I mean, they want to buy you lunch. They're just like lobbyists at the State House, There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's the quid pro quo that could potentially land people in problem. You can have dinner with somebody. You can have a lunch meeting with somebody. You want to, wine and dine. You want to pay. There's nothing wrong with that. So let's say he was pushing somebody at the city. What happened? What caused him not to want to deal with this vendor that, for whatever reason, I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said that Pedrito Cardenas was also pushing for this vendor with his friend Carlos. And what may have happened that caused Carlos no longer to be interested with that vendor that his friend Pedro Cardenas is wanting, not wanting, but Carlos no longer wants that particular vendor. Is it possible that Carlos didn't get what he was asking for? Was it possible that Carlos had been asking for wanting to be the fire chief again, and Pedro couldn't deliver that and let him have that? And therefore, he said, all right, well, then I'm not going to help you out with your friends and try to bring these vendors. I mean, I don't know. I really hope that I'm just completely far-fetched and this is completely just me just going down a rabbit hole, and it's your dang fault, Frankie. I don't like going down rabbit holes, but maybe there was something that happened and that's why he's no longer with them. Or maybe just maybe Carlos realized that vendor not necessarily work with the BISD. Maybe that's what he thought. I don't know. What do you think, Frankie?
Again, based on this graph, and again, people made fun of me. They're like, man, you are crazy. This is far-fetched. But ladies and gentlemen, time is always on our side. And the sources that we have are solid, are very solid sources. And they came up to me and they said, there's a play to get Carlos back in the city. He desperately wants to retrieve his retirement. He blames Judge Bernice for firing him. Carlos Elizondo blames Judge Bernice, God rest his soul, for Carlos taking $7,000, $8,000 to pay for Minerva Peña's recount when she ran for JP. He blames Judge Bernice for Carlos Elizondo using a private ambulance company that ended up costing the city of Brownsville $62,000. He blames others instead of his own, blaming himself for all his screw-ups. Essentially, Roman, what I was told was that there was a play. There was a play for Carlos to support Gustavo de Leon and Pedrito Cardenas in the city of Brownsville elections. In return for his support, Roman, they were going to give Carlos Elizondo a job back at the fire department. Now, for those that aren't aware, Carlos Elizondo left on horrible terms, ladies and gentlemen, horrible terms, to the point where once people got word of this, once Good Morning Brownsville published this, people within the fire department were livid. They were pissed off. They said, we don't want that guy. They were calling him a thief. We don't need that thief here. There is no question, Roman, in my mind that Gustavo de Leon, being freshly sworn in, while Pedrito Cardenas was in a runoff election, they went to the city manager, Helen Ramirez, and they said, give Carlos Elizondo a job in front of her assistants. And she froze and she said, what do you mean give him a job? She's like, whoa, this is a big deal. It's a political hire. He's got a lot of baggage, Pedrito Cardenas with Gustavo de Leon present. We're pretty much strong-arming nepotism. Get him a job. Maybe, Roman, maybe, Reggie, that's the reason why Frontier, who pushed for Pedrito, who got the contract with the city, maybe that's why they're not at the school district, Roman, because Pedrito Cardenas, Gustavo de Leon, they couldn't come through with giving Carlos Elizondo a job at the city. Maybe that's why Frontier wasn't in play. And what's your take on this, Roman? Reggie James says, there's a video from that meeting and Carlos had information only a vendor could obtain through the purchasing portal. What's your take on that?
Well, what meeting are you talking about, Reggie? Are you talking about the meeting where they approved which vendor they were going to select in 2023? That's another thing, is it doesn't make any sense really for Carlos to be pushing a particular vendor right now, considering that you're in the midst of a 3-year contract, unless you're willing to get rid of that contract immediately. And if that's even possible under the contract, that they have to be able to say, we don't want you anymore, and then try to bring in another vendor. That was very, very alarming. That I guess maybe even the Golden Girl thought, well, why can't we do it? I mean, she literally asked the superintendent, why doesn't October work for you? Why? And it's like, well, because it's the superintendent, like, because it doesn't work. Like, we can't do it that quickly. I mean, come on. So maybe it doesn't make sense to me that they're going to be able to do this very quickly. I mean, the contract expires at the end of 2026. You just like Dr. Cantu had said, you're going to have to wait until sometime in the summertime to go out for RFQs and maybe give the vendor that currently has it right now, let them know that we're probably not going to go with you, or we're going to go out for bids. And there's all kinds of things that have to happen. So, I mean, I want to make sure people understand, we're not saying that at least I'm not saying that the vendor is doing anything completely wrong right now. We're not trying to say that the vendor is good or bad for the city or for the county. I mean, for this district. I will say that that a board member, Denise Garza, is very clear in saying that she's not happy with the services provided by that vendor at the city. And she wishes that she could have only a $2.25 increase in her premiums. And so she's giving her personal opinion. And I'm going to take her out of work because I don't know anybody else at the city that has complained or said anything bad about the insurance one way or the other. I mean, I don't. Oh, Reggie is saying 2023. So there was a meeting that took place in 2023. And I guess based off of what you were hearing from Denise Garza, he kind of potentially tainted the process by having certain information that only a vendor would have had. That's interesting. Maybe we can play that. Well, we can't play that video right now because, well, it's not on YouTube anymore. I don't know, the Vimeo, Venmo, whatever it's called, has it. And maybe we can look for it when in the future and look at that.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to obtain previous board meetings, facilities meetings with this whole YouTube issue that the district is having. So Reggie makes a very compelling statement. I'm making a statement that Elizondo has done this before, and the meeting is an example. So according to Denise Garza, back in 2023, information was given to a vendor that is only privy to certain individuals, those in charge of the process, that information is not given to the vendors, because the vendors, Roman, I applied once. The vendors, you have to ask questions. You have to ask questions like in a forum type, and the district will answer your question and will disseminate that information to all parties, to all vendors, trying to make it equal. You know what I mean? So if one person has a question in regards to this, they'll be given those documents, they'll be given that information. So allegations are very serious allegations are being made that the process of selecting vendors, in particular insurance vendors, is being tainted with. Isn't this the same thing that Sylvia Atkinson was doing, Roman? Isn't this something that Sylvia Atkinson was having these conversations with vendors? Now, she did get charged for accepting $10,000 for using a facility of some sorts. But if I remember correctly, Roman, throughout her trial, I remember how information came to light where she was having discussions with these vendors. Sunshine Solutions, she was saying, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's not far-fetched.
And that came out in the trial, right?
That came out in the trial, Roman. Yes, I'm not privy to any backroom secret information. This was audio. This was audio that was played in court during Sylvia Atkinson's criminal bribery trial. Okay, and it was known, Roman, that Sylvia Atkinson was the one that was wheeling and dealing. Who's someone similar to Sylvia Atkinson on that board? It's Carlos Elizondo. Carlos Elizondo is the new Sylvia Atkinson. He wants that control. While he states that he is for the people, it's a double-edged sword with Carlos, because while he might want to do good, what is he doing? He's catering to the vendors. The very same thing that he's fighting against, that he claims to be a champion for, to be a champion against, he fell into that trap, Roman.
Well, there was another thing is that Carlos had said at this meeting on Thursday, he said that I'm fighting for you, the employee. I'm not fighting for myself. I have no benefit. It isn't about me. So I'm curious, where does Carlos get his insurance? Isn't his spouse working at the district? Does his spouse use insurance from the district, or do they have use a different insurance? I'm just curious whether or not, he's saying he doesn't get any benefit out of it. Are we sure that he doesn't have it, considering that he hasn't always had the same job every single, he's working for one hospital one day, he could be working for a clinic another. He was working as a roofer at one point. He was doing all kinds of different stuff after he became a fire chief. So did he always have his own insurance, or was he using the district's insurance? Just wondering.
That's a good question, because he was trying to make that distinction. Oh, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it for this employees. But again, his wife's an employee, and it's not far-fetched to think that he is under his wife's insurance, because BISD has a decent insurance, has a good insurance, compared to the market that's out there. So it's very telling, Roman. It's very telling that this is transpiring. So, Roman, do you want to tackle it now, or should we wait? Should we give the community a little bit more?
I don't know. I'm following your lead, buddy. You do it, your show. And I'm
Arnon is saying her spouse has BISD insurance from BISD as all the employees. You think he's referring to Carlos's wife?
I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. But you can say I don't want it, right? An employee doesn't have to accept it. They can say I don't want the insurance. I have my insurance through my husband or my wife. Or maybe they're under the age of 26 and they can still get insurance from their parents. We don't know. But again, he likes to say these things. It's very similar to what Minerva Peña likes to say, that she's all about the details. Everything detail. I don't think it's all about the detail with her, but whatever.
And also an interesting thing, Roman, how would Carlos, and you spoke about this yesterday, and I apologize for bringing it up, but I do want to elaborate a little bit more on that. We spoke yesterday how Carlos Elizondo was saying that he knew the prices. Previously, we criticized Minerva Peña for an open forum stating that she had discussed prices with a Time Warner representative. Carlos Elizondo this past Friday was giving out prices, was saying zero deductible for this, zero copay for this, Manjaro is going to be this, what's the price on this? Are board members or should board members be involved in that process, Roman? Or is that only or only should the administration handle those issues?
Boogers. Employee. Say that again. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yesterday, we spoke about how Carlos Elizondo was doing something that Minerva Peña was previously criticized about discussing prices. Yesterday, we played the feed, the video where Carlos Elizondo, an open forum, was asking the committee member for information regarding pricing. Did you know that there was $0 deductible? Were you offered zero copay? Were you given this price for Mangiarno? Is that information that all the school board members, and maybe Carlos Elizondo is familiar with this because he's in the medical field, but is this information that the board members should be entertaining, should be flirting with, or is that designed just for administration?
That seems like it's designed for administration. I'm just curious how anybody has that, zero this, zero, bueno, bonito, borato. Like, how is it possible that somebody, how does this insurance company make money with 000 for these things? It doesn't make any sense. It almost sounds too good to be true. So unless, I mean, it doesn't seem like something that would be normally out there in the insurance world. I mean, you're in the insurance world, Frankie. I mean, does this sound normal to you that somebody's going to be offering these kinds of benefits? I mean, you don't even get that kind of benefit at the federal government, and the federal government has thousands and thousands and thousands of employees out there. They don't even have these kinds of, sweetheart deals kind of. So he must have talked to somebody. That's my belief. He must have talked to somebody that gave him that information, and it seems to me no different than what Minerva did. And I believe that Jessica Gonzalez had a question about this, and she had asked the previous attorney, Eric Flores, about whether or not people can have these kinds of conversations. And Eric Flores said, I wouldn't recommend it. So, if it wasn't recommended for Minerva Peña to be having these kinds of private meetings, do you think that it would be recommended for Carlos to be having these kinds of meetings discussing prices and things like that and negotiating? Because I think the process is supposed to be, hey, Mr. He's your doctor superintendent. I think you should meet with this vendor to discuss this kind of stuff. I mean, that's one thing. I think that's the process supposed to be. It's not you going to the vendor having discussions like, these are our plans, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going to offer you, and like, oh, you know what, I'm totally good with that. You're not supposed to do those kinds of things. And we have Commissioner Tetro on here. I mean, she was a city commissioner. I'm sure she understands what we're talking about. Maybe she can enlighten us, and maybe we're if Frankie or I are kind of out of line here, because again, we're just having a conversation.
Trevino states the lie about Mangiarno or any weight loss meds he mentioned is ridiculous. No insurance company will cover them unless you are diabetic. I tried getting on Mangiarno while I was an employee and got denied. And whatever coupon they mentioned is a lie. I was never offered a coupon, and I even asked for one. Is this being used as a way to say, you see, this is a bad insurance carrier, this is a bad vendor, we need to go to someone else? Is that what Carlos Elizondo, in your opinion, is trying to do?
Yeah, it seems like it. But as far as that was another thing, that you had the Golden Girl claiming that these medications was for the heart. I thought it was always for diabetes. I didn't think it was for anything, heart related. So I don't know where she got that information from. But then again, I'm not in a health field. I don't take that stuff. Do you remember that, Frankie?
What exactly? I apologize.
Oh, that the Golden Girl was saying that the medication was for the heart. It was originally discovered for the heart, and people were taking this medication, Manjaro, even though they didn't have any heart problems. They were doing it for weight loss. And I don't remember this particular medication being for the heart. I thought it was always for diabetes, just like Vanessa's talking about. And also, let's say it was for the heart. I mean, maybe your doctor wanted you to take this medication in order for you to lose weight because you had heart disease, and he was trying to prevent further damage to the heart by you doing so. I don't see why it would be necessarily a problem. But then again, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not pretending to be one. No, Vanessa, she remembers her saying that.
Yeah, and again, I've had family members take this drug. I'm against it because research has shown that it leads to other complications. While it does help them with weight loss, it does affect other organs, and it's just it's not good. It's not good. Reggie states that is a specific insurance company he's referencing, and if he shared claimed information with that vendor, speaking to a vendor is fine. Sharing information out of the CSP process is not.
Yeah, that's what I think we're getting, and I think Commissioner Tetra was saying the same thing when she was saying, you can't trust you can't be meeting with vendors, especially if RFP is open. And it sounds to me, based on what Reggie's saying and what Denise Garza was saying in open session, that this happened where somebody was sharing it, and we all are assuming that it's Carlos. We're all assuming it's Carlos. And if we could get a copy of that meeting, maybe Reggie knows the date of it, and maybe we can find it, and maybe we can play it so everyone can know that, okay, now again, Carlos is not the hero that not everybody, but many people on your page are thinking, Frankie. He's not this hero. He's not this white knight coming to save. I really want people to understand that is not who he is right now. He might be right about certain things. Broken clock is right twice a day. That doesn't mean that he's completely the best person, and he really should not be on this school board. It's very scary what he's doing right now, and it's just by what Denise was saying, that vendors, insurance. I think she specifically said insurance vendors are doing stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing, at least in her opinion. And I think I said this yesterday. I would not doubt that Denise, Jessica, and or Daniela, maybe only 2 out of 3 or all 3, have gone to the 3-letter agency to say, hey, this is what's going on. We don't like it. We're worried. We're concerned. It would not surprise me to know that.
Wait. State that again. That you wouldn't be shocked if one faction of BISD board already went to the feds. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I think. I mean, it would not surprise me, because if Denise is saying this about something that happened 2 years ago about this process, if she's saying that, number one, and number two, she's also saying that vendors. I mean, maybe we need to play the video again so people understand what she's saying. She's saying that she said that every board member has been essentially approached. And if she's saying these kinds of stuff, I know Jessica Gonzalez is one of my best friends, and I don't think that she's a crook in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know anything special other than the fact that I think I know her very, very well, and I think I know Denise. And even though I have my problems with Daniela, and I do, it wouldn't surprise me if Denise and Jessica have gone to the 3-letter agency. And if they've gone, let's just assume that Daniela's gone as well, because maybe they're just worried. They're concerned about it, about what they're seeing on the board.
So let me play it one more time. I'm going to play it from, and we narrowed it down to 2 clips. One clip is where Carlos Elizondo is making allegations that he has an audio of board members taking money under the table, which I would dare say, I don't know about Roman, I would dare say that that's a bluff, because if somebody in his position has that damning evidence, they would go straight to the FBI. And if they already went to the FBI, they wouldn't reveal that information because it's an ongoing investigation.
Right.
So
And I said
either
this yesterday.
right, and either he's making this up, he wants to scare someone, he wants them to believe that he has dirt on them, and they best align to his requests. If not, he's got the goods. So that's the first clip, which I think is a bluff because again, if you know something bad is happening and you don't report it, you're just as guilty. Let's play it.
Did not recognize
You
you as a
recognize
chair.
me at the beginning.
I'm recognizing you right now.
Recognize me at the
I'm
beginning of
recognizing you
the
right now.
meeting, ma'am.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Please ask your question.
It's not my question, it's my motion. And I'm asking for a second to table it till information.
Oh, he went away. Okay, the audio is not working. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Let me know if y'all can hear me. I think he's just trying to mess with it to try to get the best audio for everybody to hear it completely so that we don't have to play directly from the website that the BISD has it. But the audio is not working completely. Can y'all hear me? Somebody say yes or no, you can hear me? I'm going to assume nobody can hear me.
Yes, Roman, we can hear you.
Because we didn't
Oh,
plan
okay.
it.
Yeah, but I couldn't hear them. I couldn't hear the audio, buddy.
Was that we got into the presentation, but there was.
All right, let me go straight to the feed then.
All right, let's just go there. Yeah.
When I put you in the back, Roman, you're still on. Like, I'm not taking you off.
Oh yeah, but I couldn't. There was no audio. We couldn't hear the audio.
Right, but just because you're not on the screen doesn't mean we can't hear you.
Oh yeah, that's
you're
okay.
live. We're live. All right, just
Okay. All right.
we're live. Let's see if this works. I wouldn't be surprised if they take it down. Yeah, it's gone already.
Go to the main page of the Vimeo for BISD, and I'll show you how to find it. Maybe we can find it that way. It might also be opening up in a new window, and when it opens up in a new window or a new tab, it doesn't automatically show up. So if you can force it to go in the same tab, it'd be better.
Let's see. Leticia says a 225 increase is peanuts compared to what other people are paying their insurance premiums. I agree with Denise Garza on this topic. I retired from BISD in 2019, and I've been paying $200 for insurance a month. BISD teachers and administrators are making a lot of money these days. I believe classified employees should not pay for their insurance because they are paid below average and do not work behind the scenes and are not recognized. That's just my opinion. What's your take, Roman?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with anything that DC just said.
Yeah, interesting take on how these board members on how they want to deal with this. What else? It's cheaper to get in Matamoros. I believe she's talking about the Mangiorno.
Right, I believe so. Yes.
Okay, all right. I have you on, Roman. Let me know if you can hear it, Roman.
Okay.
I think we should be good now.
All
Let me
right.
know if you can hear it. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
It's very soft.
Very soft.
Mhm. It's a little bit louder, but still soft.
Yeah, having technical difficulties.
You want to
Again,
try going back to the Vimeo? I'll show you where it is because I think I was.
if you could bring it up, that'd be great.
Well, I can't bring it up, but I can like
You
tell
could share your screen, Roman. You could share your screen.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
sure if
I'm
you've
able.
done
I,
StreamYard ever before.
no, I can't share the screen because of the fact that I'm not an administrator of it.
Roman, you
Only
could
the
share your
administrator.
screen, Roman.
No, I'm telling you,
Not sure.
there's no way to share screen.
Roman.
I am not technically not savvy. I'm telling you that because I'm just a guest on the StreamYard. It would not allow me to share my screen.
I've given you permission, Roman. Anyways,
Oh, all right.
so going back, Roman. This is Roman's first time on Streamyard, it seems. Going back to the topic at hand. The Federal Bureau of Investigations is looking closely at the school district. That is no question. With these serious allegations that have been made by fellow board members, I will make my assumptions, Roman, as to who is being zeroed in on. And I think it's two people, Roman, and I want to get your take on this. I would dare say, Roman, that the two people that the federal government is looking at is the following individuals. And this is my opinion. In my opinion, I think the federal government is looking into Carlos Elizondo based on what Denise Garza stated in open forum, that there was a fellow board member in 2023 that tainted the process of the insurance CSP, where they were given certain information that they were not privy to. Now, I want to say, Roman, I'm 75% sure that the investigators are hot on Elizondo's trail, that what he said about having audio is a bluff. But, Roman, hypothetically, if Carlos Elizondo does have this audio, I would dare say that it is the Golden Girl that is on that audio. Why? Because she is not as polished as the other board members. Denise, Daniela, and Jessica, well, they know the game. They know how to conduct themselves. Now, is it far-fetched that one of them possibly said something? Maybe, possibly, but I don't think they would openly talk about this, especially with their adversary being Carlos Elizondo. The other hypothetical is that they were talking to that insurance carrier and they were trying to make a deal, because at the end of the day, the magic number is 4. Carlos Elizondo has 3 votes. There is no doubt in no one's mind. Carlos controls Minerva. Carlos controls Frank. All he needs is 1 vote. Who is that vote? I would dare say is the Golden Girl. And we saw that, Roman, by her abstaining from this vote. What's your take on my assumptions?
I mean, I don't know exactly how they're looking into the Golden Girl. I mean, she just got there, but I think that based on the fact that she voted the way she did, that if they are looking at this particular issue, this insurance issue, and the 1 or 2 or 3 of the girls did go to the FBI and say, hey, this is what's going on at the district, that they are, hey, let's pay attention to this. And when they see something on the agenda, that was the other thing is that the agenda item was about premiums. You don't think that if they're investigating, they're going to look at the open, that the public publicizing of the agenda, and they're going to see insurance and a red flag, let's make sure we pay attention to what happens at this meeting, and then saw that this woman abstained. Is it possible that Carlos has told people, these are my 3 votes, I just need a 4th? I just need that 4th. And once I have that 4th, I'm good. And, La Golden Girl did say some things yesterday that maybe it's possible that she's having these meetings with Carlos. She was the one talking about what she said GOP, but she meant GLP medication. She's talking about the heart. She said she's been looking at this for 2 days. Who has she been researching with? Where these questions were coming from. I mean, granted, she sounds like she could be eloquent enough to know these things, but we don't know whether or not she'd been conversing with Carlos, because she also must have known that an abstention is going to cause this thing to fail. And unless she's that dumb and doesn't realize that we're not going to be able to increase premiums. She was like very upset, very concerned that the superintendent didn't want to start looking for a new vendor in October. She was saying, we we, the board, want to go out for bids. We want to do this for you, the employees. I agree with Frank and saying that, 2% pay raise. She was saying these kinds of things that lead me to believe that she's on the Carlos' side on this. And then she abstains. If she was researching this for 2 days, even though she should have been researching this for a lot longer than 2 days, why is she abstaining? She should have voted one way or the other. Is it, again, like I said yesterday, is she trying to play both sides? Is she playing both sides? Is she's like, I'm going to, agree with decorum, and there's some people that are being angry and shouldn't. That's one side. And on the other side, I'm like, no, I really want to do this. I really don't want to increase premiums. I don't want to do this. I want to go out for bids. I want to go for another vendor. She's playing both sides. And to me, yes, I think you're onto something there, Frankie, based on it. By the way, if you want me to, I can tell you the numbers to the link to the video if you want it, Frankie.
Sure, if you could send it to me, that way I can play it. And the reason, Roman, the reason why I say that it's the Golden Girl that is possibly, I don't know, snared in this, or she was entrapped, is because of the response that Carlos gave. Whenever, and I'll play this whenever, once Roman sends it to me, whenever Carlos Elizondo stated, I have audio, or you know what? I could play it on, let me see. I think I could play it. I could play the audio one very
from
quickly.
Yesterday's show?
From yesterday. Yeah, I clipped, here it is.
I'm recognizing you right now. I'm recognizing you right now.
Look at Carlos and look what he says, and look at his body language. That's what I want to focus on. The reason why I say that possibly the Golden Girl is involved in this is because she's the newbie. Maybe Carlos was trying to get her in the goods with the vendors. And the reason that I think that it's her is because look at his body language.
I did not recognize
You
you as the
recognize
chair.
me at the beginning.
recognizing
You can
you right now.
recognize me at the
I'm
beginning of
recognizing
the
right
meeting,
now.
ma'am.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Please ask your question.
It's not my question, it's my motion. And I'm asking for a second to table it till we get further information. I do have information. If you want me to play it on audio, I
Look at his
will
body.
do so. Or there are some people here taking money on the table. You want me to play
None of
that?
Did not
Thank
recognize
you.
you as the
recognize me
chair.
at the beginning.
recognizing
You can
you right now.
recognize me at the
I'm
beginning of
recognizing
the
right
meeting,
now.
ma'am.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Please ask your question.
It's not my question, it's my motion. And I'm asking for a second to table it till we get further information. I do have information. If you want me to play it on audio, I will do so. Or there are some people here taking money on the table. You want me to play
None of-
that?
Did you see her body? Did you see his
Her
body?
hand. I saw her
Oh,
hand
yeah.
going down like, what? That's what
Yes.
I saw. Her
Now,
hand.
maybe she was shocked, Roman. Maybe she was like, what the? Because honestly, that was kind of like from left field. Like nobody was expecting that. And when I saw that, because I watched that particular take like 10 times, and I was just, thinking, I was like, look at her. She's like, what the hell? And the way he turned, Roman, again, he was addressing Daniela Lopez Valdez. But I feel as if he kind of like threw it out her like, hey, I got you on tape, girl. That's what I took. And then her body reaction.
Yeah, the hand.
Said a lot.
It did. She said some people, not a person.
Maybe it's a group of them. Interesting.
I mean, it seems a very big. Again, that's assuming that this audio is real. Because you're saying that you don't believe it, you think it's a bluff. I'm thinking 90% that it's not real, that this audio is not real. But that doesn't mean that the Golden Girl doesn't think it's real. Based just solely on hand, her like hand of what? Excuse me, but yeah. It's very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. Again, it's not a good look. This is a PR nightmare that the school district does not want to have. They are trying their very best to put lipstick on the pig and try to convince the community that the bond of $1 billion, Roman, is needed. It's not a good look whenever board members are making these serious allegations of corruption, of a board member saying, well, you or someone here tainted the process in 2023 of giving sensitive information to vendors. Can you imagine the community? And again, yesterday's video, Roman, I think it's already eclipsed like 70,000, something crazy. It's like it already eclipsed the 50,000 mark. And this is not a good look. I'm sure the community is seeing this and saying, ha, look, it's 72,000 people have watched this clip of Carlos saying that some people here are taking money under the table. Tetro is correct. Some people, meaning plural. Also, it just dawned on me. Do you think that Carlos Elizondo recorded a vendor saying, "Oh, I gave money to XYZ"?
That's a possibility. All of this is a possibility because we don't know what he has, if he has anything, and what he has. But I'm worried that people think that this is a good thing. You know, that he has this stuff because what you said yesterday was that he could be using this as, I mean, to control somebody. You know, I'm worried about that. What do you think, Frankie? I mean, you're all, oh, sorry, you're getting messages from people. I love it when you get messages from people because you don't want to tell what people are telling you.
No, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And the superintendent was, trying his best as he was like, get me out of here, get me out of here. And it's crazy because, I get criticized a lot for spreading negativity. The board members on Friday, they spread a lot of negativity against each other. They're throwing bombs at each other. The reception that I got, people that reached out to me, they said, "Hey, man, is this true? There's no question that corruption runs rampant at the school district. But have we stooped to a new low where we would think that after what the community went through with Sylvia Atkinson, the embarrassment that the black eye that she left the district, we would think, Roman, that people would avoid this stuff because Sylvia did what, 4 or 5 years? Now, while 4 or 5 years isn't a lot, Roman, my liberty is worth more than 10,000. My liberty is worth at least $1 billion. So it's just not a good look because, again, we have a problem with our image at BISD. I've spoken this before. It's like that drug addict, Roman. It's like that individual that's dependent on alcohol. They don't want to recognize their problems. They don't want to say, I have a problem. They always blame other people. The school district has an image problem. If we don't correct that, we're going to fail. Dark days lie ahead. There is no silver lining. And I hate to sound so Debbie Downer, Roman, but that's the reality. According to the super, Roman, I'll repeat myself. I know people hate it. The super, in his own words, 6 to 11 schools will close. The student enrollment from 34 will drop to 28,000. What does that lead us to believe? Dark days lie ahead. They don't want this information to be relayed to the community, to the masses. But that is something that he told parents regarding this bond. So this, Roman, in my opinion, is another black eye. It's like that, it's like your kid, Roman. He asks you for money and you say, of course, son, of course. But once your son, daughter start messing up, Roman, once they're not responsible, once they start acting up, are you going to continue to contribute to their aspirations, to their habits, no. You reach a point where you say, hey, you haven't managed, you haven't been responsible. I can no longer. This is a lesson learned for you. Maybe if you act up, child, I will continue to contribute. I'll continue to help you. I think that's what we're dealing with the school district, in my opinion.
There's a lot of truth to that, Frankie. There's a lot of truth. You don't want to. Again, we want people to vote against this bond. Make sure you go out and vote against this bond. I know that people will be complaining about what we're doing today, Frankie, and they'll say, "Oh, you're just repeating what you did yesterday. You're just repeating it." But I think it's not that we're repeating what was happened yesterday. Is that yesterday was a 2-hour show. We were playing clips, the audio, what was going on. People were just absorbing it for the first time, And now people have this weird perception that this is somehow that again that Carlos is doing the Lord's work, I guess, here. And I think it's important that we go and point out to everyone that no, not necessarily. We need to understand that the agenda item on Thursday had nothing to do with going out for requests for proposals or requests for qualifications. At no point in time was anything other than increasing the premium supposed to be discussed. But Carlos and through his shenanigans used the opportunity to talk about how we want to go out for bids and was, I guess, encouraging the new girl to do the same thing, to want this to happen, and they're shocked. We need to make sure that this whole fight that happened never really should have happened. It should have been really cut and dry. Are we going to increase premiums or we're not going to increase premiums? What are we going to do? And if we're not going to increase premiums, what's the solution? How are we going to pay for this self-sustaining insurance policy? How? Nobody asked that question. Nobody even said, hey, we don't vote for this. Where are we going to come up with the money to pay for? How much is this going to cost the district? I mean, you already had a situation where Dr. Cantu said that they got not 100%, but they got $2 million from another vendor, the previous vendor for insurance regarding Manjaro. I mean, they spent $2 million, but they got it back. But I assume that they actually spent more than that, and that cost us. That comes out of the budget. How much money is going to is going to be spent because we didn't raise the premium on the employees? And then you have somebody like Fred Ortiz saying yesterday he was uncomfortable voting for it because there was a lot of TBDs to be determined in 2, 3, 4 years. Well, of course it was to be determined, Frank, because the insurance company you have right now only goes to the end of 2026, you dolt, you moron. That's why there's to be determined. And secondly, you're the one that voted in favor of a bond where we don't really know what's going to happen in the future with regards to enrollment, when it comes to the tax rate. There's a lot of variables that happen in the future, and you had no problem voting to let's have a bond election. This time we didn't want to do it in February like when you voted against it. So there's a lot of things that happen at that meeting that probably should never have happened at that meeting. But at the same time, I'm happy that people are discussing this. I'm happy that we have video of it, that we were able to find it, and so that people can discuss it. But you're not going to see this conversation on Channel 4, on Channel 5, on Telemundo, Univision. You're not going to see that in any of the multiple blogs that are out there. You're only going to see it on this show because we were the ones who gave you that video, or at least said, hey, their live is there for, the recording of live is there for people to see. So people understand that there were fireworks that occurred on Thursday night. But I hope that people will take the time to watch this show today and see and understand from our perspective that Carlos is not the good person in all this. Just because he allegedly has this audio recording of people making under the take, there were other things that were said at that meeting that lead us to believe that he's part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Trevino says they're trying too hard to campaign. That's what I've seen, these wooden signs outside several campuses. Has anyone said anything about the boards that were being placed at the schools? Yes, we have we have posted on this issue where these boards, these wooden signs are being placed throughout the schools, being placed right where parents pick up their children. And we have asked the question, isn't this illegal? We dedicated a show to that very issue because from my understanding, Roman, the school district cannot be putting this propaganda out there unless they create a PAC, unless it's maybe information regarding the school. But the information that I got was that vendors were paying for this. And I know very well that the board or board members are aware of this issue. And there is this idea that one of them stated, TEA is going to come in once they find out that we're allowing this to happen. So this isn't me. This isn't Roman that are making these allegations. It's the board itself, because they're watching this. They're seeing what's happening. And it's very unfortunate because it does seem, yesterday, Roman, you spoke about a pep rally where Dr. Chavez, instead of hyping up the team, hyping up the community to come and support the veteran Chargers, what did the conversation quickly turn to?
The bond.
The
It's all
bond.
about the bond. That's all he cares about, the bond.
It's all about the bond. He's going to have a state of the district October the 9th where he will be discussing the bond. These people know that reality is coming and it doesn't look good. I hate to scare people, and I try my best to convey the message that I'd rather have you receive all the information instead of, butterflies and roses, because the reality of BISD is not good. It's grim, in my opinion.
Frankie, I
Yes, sir.
I want to make a point. When we discussed the boards and you asked me if this right or wrong, and I said to you, well, no, they can only provide information about the bond. They can't tell you they cannot be for or against. That is election code stuff. That is simple election code stuff. And if there are vendors paying for these things, I really hope that they develop a political action committee and that we can have these documents. And if they did create a political action committee, if it's a general purpose political action committee, they need to be submitting their documentation to the Texas Ethics Commission, and they have to create a political action committee by appointing a treasurer with the Texas Ethics Commission. But if it is a specific purpose political action committee, and you would have to look at the Texas Ethics Commission's website to find out what that is, they need to have created that by doing a treasurer appointment and giving it to the district, because they would be the local filing authority on this. And you better be submitting a campaign finance report 30 days before the election. So if it's true what you're saying, that vendors are paying for these things, they better be doing their due diligence and submitting these documentations so everybody can see where the money is being spent and who is doing the spending. But again, they should not be putting anything other than information about the bond on school property. I guess you're allowed to do those things, but it cannot tell you to vote one way or the other. It should not persuade you to vote one way or the other.
So the school board, I apologize, the school district, they are allowed, Roman, they are allowed to pay for these boards, to pay for campaign material, as long as they provide information?
No, I'm not saying the school district can do it. I'm saying that these vendors, because you're saying the vendors are paying for these things, right? That's what you said? At least that's what you're understanding. The vendors are doing the paying, right? Well, if they're
Correct.
doing the paying, who are they paying? And whoever they're paying better be a political action committee. And that political action committee needs to be submitting documentation to either the Texas Ethics Commission, if it's a general purpose PAC, which is a general political action committee, that goes to the Texas Ethics Commission. But if it is a specific purpose, like they're doing it for a specific issue and one issue only, then they need to file that with the Brownsville Independent School District. And and if they did do that, that would be on their website. That should be on the BISD website under their elections tab.
Is there a way for me to request information regarding these boards?
Yeah.
Would the school district be the ones to tell me?
Yeah, I mean, you can
Because
ask.
they obviously know who put the signs up, right?
Yeah.
Or they should know,
because at least the wood anyway.
The wood. Because I'm a small business owner. I can't go and put my sign in front of the schools. I can't. So what agreement was made? Who's paying for this stuff? And these boards on the screen, they're everywhere. It's even in front of the courthouse, if I'm not mistaken. So the question is this illegal? Is a vendor, did they create a PAC? If so, we are about 30 days from the election, Roman? Well, I guess it's October 4th?
Yeah, so October 5th would be
Does
the
it count?
30th
Does
day.
it count early voting or election day?
No, 30 days from early vote. So the deadline would be October 30th. I mean October. The 30-day campaign finance reports would be due October 5th.
October 5th, huh?
But by this point, if money is being spent for this particular issue, that there should be a political action committee somewhere. There should either be a general PAC, which is a general political action committee, and the general purpose political action committee, that would be with the Tax Ethics Commission. And or if they did not create that, they would have created a specific purpose political action committee. And my guess is that it would be a specific purpose, and that political action committee would have submitted the treasurer nomination to the district, just like you would if you were a candidate. And you've been a candidate for BISD. And where do you submit that information to? You submitted that to the secretary of the superintendent, because they are the local filing authority. So they should have that. But BISD has in the past put that information on their website. So maybe we can look at their website. We can see if there's a political action committee listed. At the very least, a treasurer, because money has already been spent. Obviously, with this wood, money has been spent. So they have to have at least a treasurer. We will not know how much money has been spent until 30 days before the election, when they're supposed to submit their campaign finance report. I hope that makes sense. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, it does. Roman, what board members is against the bond?
Well, suppose Minerva Peña is against it. She told me and a group of Republicans at the Brownsville Republican Club meeting at the Elks Lodge at noon last month. Well, not earlier this month, sorry. And she said she was against it. And if you don't believe me, Minerva Simpson, who was at that meeting, concurred with what I said, and she said that on this show. And Carlos Elizondo is voted against the bond. It was the other 5 that voted in favor of putting the bond for an election, and that included Frank Ortiz and La Golden Girl. And I want to make sure everyone remembers, Frank voted against a smaller bond of $350 million in February, but he voted in favor of this bond of $460 million. What changed? Has anybody other than me and Frankie, has anybody bothered to ask why he was willing to go for a $460 million bond now, as opposed to the $350 million bond that was on the table in February? If it's all for the children, Frank, if it's all for bettering the school district, Frank, because the school district is falling apart, why were you against it in February but not in August? Why do you want that? Why do you want to spend more money? Nobody's asked those questions other than me and Frankie. Oh, other than Frankie and I, before somebody corrects my grammar.
The grammar trolls. 956 says, I also blame TEA, the Texas Education Agency, because of that loser of Atkinson. This should have been dealt with years ago. It seems that the people just can't be trusted anymore. Roman, in regards to what you stated, do you think in your heart of hearts, and let me bring up another comment. Roman, do you think in your heart of hearts that they really are going through all this process? No. That the vendors have created a pack, that they've done, that they've dotted their I's, crossed their T's?
I'm going to say no, just because they're already putting up these wooden signs on school property. But the words have not been put up, just the wood. Like, when have you ever seen that? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen schools have political propaganda.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't make sense, Roman. It really doesn't make sense. Do you honestly think, Roman, that TA could come in if this was done illegally?
Well, are you talking about the insurance information, or are you talking about the campaign for the bond?
Well, let's talk about both since
Well,
since
because
since
I
we
don't think the
discussed that.
bond is the reason for them to come in. I don't think that they care. I did talk to some people who are more experts in what these bonds are like, and they don't really look at that stuff. They don't really, because the TA doesn't oversee the election code.
Mm.
They don't have any purview over the election code. They have purview over the education code. And for that reason, I don't think the bond will cause them to want to come home. I think they're more inclined to come in because the board is still divided, because you had a 3-3-1 vote on a very, very important issue that could potentially cause the district not to have a self-sustaining or self-funding insurance. I mean, it's still going to be self-funded, but it's not going to be as strong and robust as it could be, because they're going to have to dip into the fund balance. And the thing is that don't the school? Well, maybe Reggie's still watching. Maybe Reggie's more of an expert than I am on this, but will the school board have to approve more every month expenditures, because they're going to have to be dipping into the fund balance to pay for insurance, because you had people like Frank Ortiz who are unwilling. This is the brilliant part. Frank Ortiz is willing to go out and get a $460 million bond so you, the taxpayers, can pay and have a tax increase. That's what he's willing
Mm.
to do. But he was unwilling to have a $2.25 increase for employees. He cared more about the employees than he cared about the voters of and the citizens of the Brownsville ISD territory. You understand that, guys? He cared more
Mhm.
about employees not being able to pay $2.25 than you, the taxpayer, having to have a tax increase on your property, because he wants to spend $460 million on a bond. What an idiot.
Hey Roman, Dwayne has a question for you. Isn't every ISD in the RGV asking for a bond? Why is
No,
this?
not every one of them. I mean, I know that McAllen ISD is considering it. They're going through their Citizens Advisory Committee BS, and remember our former school board superintendent, Dr. Rene Gutierrez, is there now, and I think they're going to have a bond probably in May. But right now, not every school district has a bond on the election in November. That's not to say that they're not going to try to go out for a bond later on, sometime next year.
Roman, are we being disingenuous? Are we being negative? Are we not about the children? Are we going up against the values that the school district has in regards to giving the children the very best? Because you mentioned McAllen ISD. If what you say is correct, they will be going out for a bond in the near future. Are we overstating this? Are we making this a bigger issue than what it is in regards to us not having the confidence in our board in these vendors? Is it right for us to do so?
I think it's fair to be able to criticize spending $460 million. I don't know why I keep saying billion. I think it's got to have that $1 billion on my mind that you keep talking about, and it's your fault, Frankie. But the $460 million, I think, is a lot. I think it's right for us to be asking why you're spending $460 million. I think it's right for us to be able to question why you're spending $38 million on one school and spending $9 million on another, where it just does not make sense. Cut your losses at this point, especially when you're bleeding students. And I'm not saying bleeding in like blood. I'm like, you're losing students. You're losing students to graduation. I mean, you've had the superintendent out there saying that people are not having children, people are not having kids. He even talked about his own sons, both of them. They don't have any kids and they're 30. I mean, he complains and he says, I only had 2 kids, and so he's putting that information out there. So that, I mean, we have a reproduction problem in the city of Brownsville. We have a reproduction problem in our country. That's why you have people like John Callan out there saying that we need to have more illegal immigration essentially in our country, because we're not reproducing. And who's going to be able to pick up the vegetables and the fruits or whatever? Because that's why we need these illegal immigration and a comprehensive immigration reform plan or whatever the mayor wanted. So we have that problem. It's only getting worse. And so if it's only getting worse, we need to contract. We need to get rid of this property. I mean, we can make a lot of money. I mean, you made $16 million when you sold Cummings Middle School, only to say, well, we're going to use the $60 million and then have to use $14 million to build a new CTE place over on Morrison. And that's also interesting. They're only going to spend $30 million to build a new CTE thing, and yet they're going to get what, $39 million to fix Porter and fix Pace, and they're going to spend $10 million to fix veterans. I mean, maybe they do need to get rid of one of the high schools. Maybe they don't need to have as many high schools as they do. Here's another thing. Why the hell do we still have Bex? Why do we still have the Brownsville Early College High School at the UT at wherever on the TSC campus, UTRGV campus? Why do we have that?
Good point.
Like, get rid of that. There's no reason to have that school at all. Nothing. Zero. Because everything you learn there, you can learn at all the other early college high schools, at Lopez, at Pace, at Rivera, at Porter, at Hanna, at Veterans. I mean, they're over there, instead of going out there and saying, we want more money, give us more money, increase our taxes, give more, but we can't raise the insurance premiums on employees. That's a bridge too far. Get rid of a school. Why is that not on the table? Why was Bex not on the table when they were busy closing down schools over in Southmost, where I live, here in Southmost, and consolidating schools? Why wasn't Bex part of the the chopping block? But yeah, it's ridiculous and it's insane. But whatever.
When I ran for BISD, I learned that the school district needed $1 million per day to keep the lights on, so to speak, to pay the bills. In 1 month, it cost the district $30 million in operations. That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, let's say 6 years ago, in 2020. Let's say 6. Since then, Roman, we have had a number of schools close. Now, my thinking was, okay, we're closing down schools. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Roman. I'm a layman. I'm not as smart as you. We're closing down schools. We're not paying for electricity, for manpower. So essentially, we should have money left over, Roman, based on us not having those expenditures. In the how many schools have closed? Is it dare to say in the double digits or close to the double digits, Roman?
No, well, you had Victoria Heights is closed, Resaca is closed recently, but that was like what 8 years ago or something.
Well, let's because at one point I understood that there was 50 to 52 schools in operation. That's a monster for the district. So let's count them down just to have a better idea. Victoria Heights,
Resaca, Cummings.
God bless you.
Sorry, thank you. But Cummings closed, but then we're still using it as a CT site.
God bless you.
Thank you. I apologize. And then you had Cromac, Garza, and Del Castillo. I think that's
Del Castillo. 6 schools. Soon to be in the double digits. Is that fair to say? Soon to be in the double digits. So we have 6 schools in the past 8 years that have closed.
And also Longoria. I forgot Longoria and Webb.
7, 8 schools. 8 schools as of right now. We're gonna eclipse the double digits very soon. Okay, so what's happening to that money, Roman? What's happening to all those funds? Because again, we're not spending money on light. Well, we possibly could, but maybe it's not being used as often. We're possibly not spending money on materials, on supplies for that school. So if we have an excess of funds that aren't being used, where is that money going? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the score? If you could answer this question, Roman, if you were aware, is the school district in a deficit right now?
Yeah, they are in a deficit. They have to go into
the fund balance. 20?
Yeah, it's in deficit.
But is it like 20 mil?
Well, no, it was 20 mil. That's what they claimed at one point, and then it had to be a lot of cuts. And then this one, it wasn't. They had to dip into the fund balance. I think 17. Not they needed $17 million more, and they had to get approval from the district. And so I think they went down to like $93 million is all that's remaining in the fund balance. It's supposed to be only no less than $100 million. So they needed the board had to approve themselves to say we're going to dip into the fund balance and go below $100 million. And the $100 million is what is supposed to be in the piggy bank, in the savings, to be able to maintain the district for 3 months.
3 months.
For 3 months.
And that was my understanding. That again, BISD needs $30 million a month to keep the lights on, pay salaries. So you multiply that by 3, that's 90 mil. You want to have a little bit more for a rainy day. So 100 seems fair. But I was under the assumption that the school district is or was in the deficit, in the red. Now, what's being done?
If you have to go into the fund balance, you're in the red.
Okay.
If you have to go into your savings to pay for stuff because money is not coming in, it's just money you have in your savings, you're in the red.
Okay. So it is fair to say, that the school district is currently in a deficit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but they have a balanced budget. But yeah, I could say you could say.
But it's fair to say we're dipping into our coffers.
Yes.
So essentially, what's happening to that money? Where does that money go?
Well, first off, they're closing those schools, and that because they were losing enrollment. That means they're not bringing in. They don't have students bringing in money, the $6,000 daily attendance money. So they're losing money. So that's not to say that by closing these schools you were going to have all these savings. I mean, you did have the superintendent. This superintendent claimed that if we closed Cromac, Del Castillo, and Garza, that we were going to save $1 million because we were not going to have to deal with having a principal, a data clerk, an assistant principal, and some of these other. We were going to have attrition, so we were not going to have every single teacher staying around. They're going to potentially retire, and you're going to be able to save money on having electricity, saving money on not having electrical costs, and maintaining and having. I'm assuming insurance on these buildings. I don't know, but so the money's not there.
And the reason why I ask is we understand that they don't have income coming in because of we close the schools, but there's still funds being allocated for supplies, for salaries, for XYZ. Where is that money being allocated now? I find it difficult to believe that the school district with a budget north of $600 million, the largest it's ever had, is struggling. We're bleeding. A large part, I understand, is a decline in enrollment. But do we have a problem with managing what we have, Roman? And is that the reason why many community members are questioning the reasons why we're going out for a bond? Also, very quickly, Superintendent Chavez, Dr. Chavez, did state that even if this bond passed, I know I'm repeating myself, even if this bond passed, the school district in 8 to 10 years is going to need another bond. So can we understand why the community is saying no, Roman, to this bond?
Well, again, you're the one who thinks that the community is going to say no. I think the community is going to end up saying yes because they're going to be like, it's for the children. And people don't want to vote against the children. So, yeah. But other than that point, I think you're spot on, Frankie.
Yeah, I think I need to do a better job. I think I need to maybe hit it harder, post more in regards to the bond, because I don't think people understand. Maybe this isn't the right word that I should say, but the severity of this, that we need to correlate. You're going to pay more taxes if you vote yes. If you vote no, you're not going to pay taxes. And that's a fair assessment to make, because that's the reality. And if I haven't been conveying that message on our platform, I need to do a better job. We are 3 weeks away. I need to punch this harder. apparently, because you had mentioned during the midterms, non-presidential, not a lot of people come out to vote.
Yeah, I think
I
we
think
came
we
up with the
showed
number 7,000. I think it's 7,000. I think that's what we
seven,
come up with.
yeah, 7,000. So essentially, we need 12,000 to come out. We need 10,000 to come out to make sure that the pendulum doesn't swing in favor of the bond. It's just troubling. I can't wrap my head around yesterday's program, Roman. It causes me to have great concern for the direction of the school district, because here we have board members making these serious allegations while they're asking the community for their confidence, for their vote of confidence. And this is what we're dealing with on the eve of this election, Roman.
Mhm. Yeah. And not to change the subject a little bit, but it does involve insurance. The President Trump is in the Oval Office with the the Health and Human Services Secretary, and with Pfizer, the people that brought you the vaccine, the jab. He has a new drug price deal that he's worked out with them on discounted prices on many of Pfizer's more popular medications. So hey, great, things are coming down. Congratulations. I don't know what this has to do with the insurance at the city, at the school district, but hey, it's coming down. Maybe we'll get to zero at some point, like Carlos is promising.
Hey, well, he knows something that we don't, so maybe he's onto something, Roman.
Maybe he had the line directly to the president. Who knows?
I wouldn't put it past him. Roman, any last words for the community?
I apologize for being sick or with my allergies. I didn't. I know I would have upset Frankie if I said, "Hey, man, I feel like crap. I probably shouldn't be doing the show." He'd get mad at me. So I said, "No, let me pile through. Push through it." So I apologize for any sneezing and boogers and stuff like that. But hey, hopefully it was an entertaining show for everybody and people learned something. But please understand, I'm going to say this again. Carlos is not the hero in this, guys. He's not. And I'm not saying put your trust in any politician out there, but he's not the hero. Oh, Vanessa's asking, do you think Carlos would have released the audio if he still had the... Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. But I think he should release the audio. I think we said it when it happened. You and I were on the show together, Frankie, and we were like, release it. If you have it, do it now. I think I even said, get on Facebook, get on your personal Facebook page and release the audio if you have it. Go to the district attorney, release it. Go to the BISD police, go to the Brownsville ISD new chief that you all have. Go to her and give it out. Put it out there so we can see what you have if you're this hero, Carlos. Please. I mean, for the good of the community, please share this audio that you have, that you allegedly have. Because I would like to hear it.
Yeah, Trevino makes an interesting point. Would Carlos Elizondo release it if he still had the Jazz Marie page? Again, we're 5-6 months from our platform making allegations that Carlos Elizondo was behind this Jazz Marie profile that was disseminating hate against BISD employees. What's interesting about this case, Roman, is when Carlos Elizondo released the audio of Cesar de Leon, they went to Erasmo Castro. And I remember, because I think it was him and Martin. It was him and someone else that went to Erasmo. And I remember being at the office, and Carlos and Erasmo, they were kind of, I guess feeling each other out. And Erasmo ended up posting the audio on his page. I sincerely believe that if Carlos Elizondo had the goods, it would have already been released. Maybe he wouldn't have given it to me. Maybe he wouldn't have given it to Juan Montoya, but he would have figured out a way for this audio to have been released. Again, if he has it, why hasn't he done anything about it? If he knows of some criminal activity, why hasn't he reported it? Maybe he has, Roman. Maybe he's gone to the federal authorities. But usually those cases, when you go to them and you give them this information, very sensitive information, they tell you, don't discuss this with anyone. This is an ongoing investigation. This could potentially hinder any possible leads that this investigation might bring. So again, either he's not very bright and he's just throwing this out there unbeknownst to a criminal investigation happening. But my opinion is that this is a bluff, that he wants to show the community, oh, I'm fighting. When in reality, all the fingers are being pointed to him. That people on the board went to the federal government making accusations against Carlos Elizondo for tampering, for providing sensitive information to certain vendors so they could be privy to that information, so they could possibly look better in this CSP, the sealed proposals that was out back in 2023. That's what I think is happening. That's what I think happened, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Roman?
Well, and before people say, well, that's not what, I'm saying, I think that's what happened, that they went to the FBI or they went out this information. And I think that happened because the same reason we're arguing that Carlos would have had this information, why hasn't he gone to the authorities? Denise Garza's had this information for what, 2 years? She's had it. Do you think she's been sitting on it? I would dare to say no. I would argue no. There's no way that Denise is going to be sitting on it. I'm going to be honest. I'm very surprised this came out. I'm very surprised that she said it in open session. And I think in a lot of ways, she might be the hero in all this by saying it. And I don't think she did it for political reasons. I don't think she did it because she's running for county clerk. I don't think she did it for any other reason than I think she was fed up. I think she was extremely exhausted and tired out by what Carlos and Minerva and Frank, and I think at that point, even the Golden Girl was doing. Yeah.
Interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Again, from here till November the 4th, we'll continue to talk about important issues regarding the school district. We feel as if this is, I'll speak for myself, I feel as if this is not in the best interest for the community. The school district, its administrators, the board have not demonstrated that they are capable of managing what they have. And now they want a bailout of $1 billion. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. We just eclipsed the 800 mark. We still need 197 subscribers to go. That is our goal, to reach 1,000 by the end of this year. Slowly but surely, we will hit our mark. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube. My name's Frankie. This is Roman. Peace.